Well, hello everybody. Once again, the computer seems to know that I'm trying to go live. So hopefully you all are seeing me. I'm going to turn on a browser so I can see your comments. This is Hank Linderman. It's getting angry. And I really was on the edge of losing control earlier today. I even wrote out a song that I was working on that's called I've Got a Worried, Troubled Mind. Hi, John. Larry, that is. Hey, Bill McNichol. Everybody I know is going to be asked to please share this. Jim Porter is here, all the way from Danville on the shores of Lake Harrington. Mark Andes is here from Texas. Let's see who else. And hey, guys, Doug Price is here. We had a spectacular day yesterday. We had 1,100 views in the shortest period of time we've ever had, and that's because you all are sharing these broadcasts. So, the getting angry thing, I almost lost it, I got to say, last night and earlier today. I woke up this morning with a worried and troubled mind. Nancy is here, and I'm going to be able to see your comments, I think. And I got several things to talk about. I do want to talk to you about rural broadband, because I've been having a pretty impassioned discussion with some friends. We're going to say discussion rather than argument, although arguing is okay to make your point. We were discussing rural broadband. Before we go there, I'm your Democratic nominee for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. This is I'm in Grayson County, which is kind of towards the west end of the district. And this is my second run. I ran in 2018, had 3 opponents, and squeaked by on the primary. This time, though, I'm very fortunate. Claire is here. I'm very fortunate that I didn't have an opponent, so I didn't have to go through the primary, which is a lot easier on you as a candidate. Anyway, we were discussing rural broadband, and that's one of the pieces of the contract for rural America, or as you all see it, looks really different, doesn't it? Let's turn it around. I do have the technology to go. There you go. There's the contract. Someday I'll show you all just how professional the setup is here. I'm at the lake. I'm at Falls of Rough. This neighborhood that I'm in, we do have broadband, but it took a long time to get it. And when we did get broadband, of course it was a big deal. Before we had broadband, Pam and I would get in the car and drive over to the state lodge because they had free internet, and it would take 15 minutes to get over there, and then you do your browsing or whatever, your 15 minutes to a half an hour of work that you wanted to deal with. And then David, thank you. Then we drive back. But we finally got internet, and it's pretty good. It's not spectacular, but it's not bad. We get about 130 down and maybe 15 up, and we're going to look into improving that because I imagine that's a factor when I'm trying to do this stuff. But there are neighbors that I have right here that live down a side street, and the provider, which is a company called Mediacom, they want $2,000 just to run the cable down to them, to that, the 3 or 4 or 5 houses that are down there. And then that's just so they can then have the privilege of paying, the $80 a month for internet access. And this is one of the big flaws in our internet system in the United States, is that it's rather completely all about profit. And most of these companies have a monopoly on their type of internet. So for example, if they're providing cable, there's no other cable competitor, which makes sense. You only want one cable system. But they really are happy to cover a city like Louisville, where you've got all that population density, but then they don't want to cover us out here in the country. They don't want to really take care of us because they don't make as much money. It's not profitable enough. So that's one of the proposals we talk about, is rural broadband. Now, again, how do you live a life these days without broadband? You can't apply for a job. you can't, a lot of people are doing online doctor appointments now. Hi Eileen, how are you? A lot of kids can't play games, and I realize that's, you know, maybe not a critical use of the internet, but these days kids are locked up. They're locked up in a house, so playing games is a good thing for them. Anyway, there's multiple ways that we could do internet, but it seems to me it has to be done as a national program. And we do that so that we don't have to have arguments with property owners. No, we're going to dig a trench through your property. We'll cover it back up. You'll never know it's there. But we'll put something down 10 feet deep that would be a cable, a fiber optic cable, and we'll run it through your property. And there's a lot to talk to you about that. Chris Belitho is here, all the way from Pasadena, California. Glad you're here, Chris. So there are competing systems. And by the way, there's a new system that's coming on. Hi, Johnny, I'm glad you're here. Hi, Michael, I'm glad you're here. There's a new system that's being put out by SpaceX, and it's called Starlink. And you can look this up. The idea is that they would have thousands of satellites in the sky in low Earth orbit, which means they'd be lower than an asynchronous orbit. Listen to me using these big words like I know everything about what I'm talking about. Anyway, the first story I saw about it said 4,800 satellites. The next one said 7,000 satellites. I just found one that said for Starlink they're going to need 7,000 satellites. And the idea is because they're lower to the Earth and because there's a lot of them, each individual user will be closer. Everybody will get better performance because you'll be closer. Now, what do we mean by better performance? First thing we want, of course, is we want to have a connection, and we want it to be fast. Oh, that's interesting. Jim Porter is saying there's a idea of running high-speed fiber optic cable through existing water lines. And I need to look into that, Jim, because that's a great idea. Fiber optic cable is impervious to moisture. It doesn't really care. I should have brought out a fiber optic cable to show you all. But fiber optic cables, you've used them in your home theater setup. They're ubiquitous. They're inexpensive. Oh, great. Okay, Jim, thank you. Maybe you could send me a link to it or post. If you can find that link, Jim, and post it on the comments here, that'd be a huge help to us. Anyway, back to the satellites. Elon Musk with SpaceX. Steve Levine, all the way from Liverpool, England, is here with us. Everybody, please say hi to our dear friend Steve. Steve, how are you doing? We're talking about rural broadband here in Kentucky. Elon Musk's plan, the Starlink system, thousands and thousands of satellites in low Earth orbit, LEO, low Earth orbit, should give fairly low latency. They're saying 25 milliseconds. Now that's probably a best case. 25 milliseconds is not terrible, especially compared to existing satellite systems. Existing satellite systems have up to 1 or 2 seconds of latency. So when you click on a link, add a second or two just for it to go to the satellite. And I think that's only one way. It might be round trip. Well, that's pretty serious, where a wired system or a fiber optic system would be significantly lower latency. So anyway, we want speed. Satellites can probably provide speed, but what they can't provide is low latency. And latency is a big deal. It's not always a big deal, but it's a big deal for a lot of people. Let's say you're a stock trader and you click buy or sell. You add a second to that and the price will change. So it will really have business ramifications if you don't have low latency. We also need huge amounts of throughput. We need to be able to move a lot of data through whatever process we're going to use, whether it's the satellite or the fiber optic cable. And fiber optic is superior for that. So as we weigh between these two systems, we're going to be talking about speed, latency, throughput, and reliability. And from what I'm seeing so far, burying fiber optic or running it through water lines, that's a fascinating idea. Running it through water lines is going to be a far more reliable, far more robust, far faster, lower latency, and greater throughput. And I suspect it would be less expensive too. It also means that we're not relying on one provider. We're not relying on SpaceX, which ultimately comes down to one individual. And Elon Musk is an incredible force of nature, really. But I think it'd be less than wise to rely on SpaceX for all of our internet in rural areas. I think that'd be a bad idea. Let me look at some numbers real quick. Mark Wilson's here. Let's see. I'm looking today. Now, here's the terrible news. Our new cases are exploding. Just a few days ago, we were seeing new cases of 40,000, and then 42, and then 46. Today, 57,000 new cases, 687 deaths, which is tragic. There's some speculation that the deaths are not quite as high as they used to be with this many new cases, because it's mostly younger people that are getting infected. I'm also looking at the breakdown. By the way, this came from worldometers.net, and you can look this stuff up yourself. But our new number one, Florida, is back to number one with 10,109 new cases yesterday. California's right behind them, 9,352. This is this daily reminder that our government has failed to take care of us during this virus, during this pandemic. And we talked about this the other day too, that if America had only followed the example of Germany, something like 70% of the people who died might not have needed to die. And if we'd followed the example of Singapore, and I think Australia, by the way, I apologize for the loud boats. It's a holiday weekend and the boats are out. If we had followed the example of, thanks Pam, it is .info. If we'd followed the example of Singapore, the results would have been 99% might not have needed to die. And if you've got a family member or a friend that you've lost, we lost John Prine, a national treasure, to COVID-19. And this was just... Well, I got a neighbor walking by.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good, Hank. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's my neighbor Steve. Sorry about that. Let's look at... I don't have the current things from Johns Hopkins, but I've been looking at that. Anyway, our numbers are not good. Now that brings us back to what we're going to be facing in the United States this weekend. This is 4th of July weekend. I've been invited to parties. I know you've been invited to parties. I ain't going. I'm not going to go to a party. I've got friends that are close to me that I would love to be able to go hang out with, but I got invited to a party in a neighborhood where my brother and sister-in-law live, just up the road. I could bicycle there, but it's going to be with a lot of people I don't know, and I'm going to do the safe thing. I'm going to wear the mask when I'm around people, but generally I'm just going to stay away, and you all need to do the same thing. Please, please, please take care of yourselves, because this thing ain't over yet, and obviously our government does not have the slightest handle on it. It's going to be quite some time before we get this done. Now that gets back to what we have got to do as Americans between now and November, and that's prepare to vote, convince other people to vote, spread the word. It makes a tremendous difference when you help me spread my message by sharing the video. That gets out there. If you're able to contribute, go to hank4ky.com and throw me a couple bucks. That's a big help. Jim Porter says our friend Carl Wing, who rang the art gallery in Lexington, died of COVID 6 weeks ago. These tragedies, so many of them, if our government had had a clue early on, would not have had to die. And this is just an American tragedy. It's really, really terrible. In fact, Europe is not going to allow Americans to travel to Europe. Bill Yates is here. Bill Yates is one of my Southern guitar buddies. Bill's a fantastic guitarist, and he's now in, aren't you in Tucson, Bill? Chris Myers is here. Thanks for all the live feeds, Hank. You're so welcome. This is a real privilege to be able to talk to you all. There's something about what's coming to my mind right now is the difference between getting involved and being committed. It's great to be involved. okay? But it's even more important to be committed. Now, out here in the country, we have a definition of the difference between involved and committed, and that's if you look at a plate of bacon and eggs, the chicken is involved, but the pig is committed. And believe me, I am committed to this. This is quite a thing that we've undertaken. I'm having, in a certain sense, the time of my life, but Pam and I are physically separated because she's in another location and cannot travel. I can't go get her. I can't fly. She's one of those that cannot get sick. And by the way, we've all got family members that cannot get sick. So just reminding you, let's do the right thing here. And again, we need to be willing to be angry. And it took me a little while today. I really had a crappy attitude, I think is the technical term. It took me a while to work my way through it, and I'm back now, and I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm very happy to be speaking with you all. Now look, it's 4:45 Eastern. That means Governor Andy's going to be talking in about 10-15 minutes. I've kind of run out of things to say unless you all have some questions. I love it when you all ask me questions and give me comments. So if there's anybody who's got some... Barbara says, did you get your AC fixed? Yes, we did. And it's been 90 degrees. It's been toasty. And I had set a fan up in my house. I had ceiling fans and had a fan pointed from a window that was open. So I had one spot where I could be comfortable, sort of. And that had been going on since Saturday with my dear friend, my neighbor, Brian. Brian came by and fixed it, and I'm incredibly indebted to him. Allison is here. Hi, Allison. How are you? Anyway, this is so great. Thank you all for being here. Please take care of yourselves. The party has already started here at the lake. I'm going to just push this out so you can get I don't know if you'll be able to see the lake, but kind of can't. Oh, well. But you can hear all the boats, I'm sure. The boats are out, and yes, my AC is fixed. So, Linda, thank you for being here. I love you all. I will see you on, I think on Monday, unless it's a holiday. Many Ditch Mitch and Shame on Mitch signs are appearing in Danville this morning. Well, Jim, we need to see some get rid of gaslighting Guthrie signs here pretty soon, too. You know, the guy I'm running against, and Jim, I thought you were the one who came up with that nickname, maybe. Someone sent me a picture of Brett Guthrie in an airport talking to people without a mask. What is this guy doing? And I have also found out apparently Brett Guthrie is the number 3 recipient of pharmaceutical contributions, big pharma companies. I love you too, Bill. Johnny, I do not cover Simpson County. I've got Davis, Hardin, Warren, Bullitt, Nelson, Barron, Boyle, Meade, Mercer, Breckenridge, Grayson, Hart, Hancock, LaRue, Washington, Garrett, Jessamine, Greene, Edmondson, Butler, Spencer. 21 counties, and I've been to all of them. So sorry about that. But Johnny, it's not too late to move and get registered here in the 2nd District. We'd love to have you. All righty. You all take care. Happy 4th to all of you. Please social distance. Please wear those masks. And, you know, have an adult beverage. It's Friday. Rusty, how are you? Good to see you. But it's time for me to say goodbye. Talk to you all later. Bye.